Our last speaker this evening is Sharyn Solum, Getting Out of the Outhouse. Getting Out of the Outhouse, Sharyn Solum.
It was a hot August afternoon at the Kansas State Fair. Maybelle Lodine staggered off the roller coaster, feeling a very mighty need to use the facilities. Maybelle rocked around, found a row of very well-used, very odoriferous facilities out behind the tractor display. Maybelle went in, sat down, and had this feeling of still being on the roller coaster. And what was happening was that old building was sort of swaying this way and that, and it collapsed around her. And Maybelle Lodine landed in the hole underneath the facilities, waist deep in waste. She was considerably embarrassed, a mite hurt, and seriously angry. Maybelle Lodine sued that county fair and won $50,000. Madam Toastmaster, members and guests, my first thought when I read that article a long time ago in Reader's Digest was that those people in Kansas are sure different than we are here in Montana. In the first place, we don't call them facilities. In polite company, we call them outhouses. And we don't call the contents of those outhouses waste. We call it, well, you get the idea. My second thought was that Maybelle Lodine made out pretty darn good that day. Because a lot of us in our lives fall into the outhouse, often, many, many times, and we are lucky to get out of the outhouse, much less having anybody pay us $50,000 for the experience. You know how they say that bad things happen to good people? It's true. It's true. Sometimes bad things do happen to us. We find ourselves waist deep in waste from problems that happen maybe with your job, your children, they wrecked the car, you just are having a bad day. Waste happens, right? Well, most of us, after some initial digging around in the waste, can pull ourselves out and get on with our lives. But many people enjoy that kind of wallowing around in the waste. They love it so much that they'll get in there and they'll blame everyone else for their problems. They'll refuse to get past the situation. They are in the outhouse for good. And they like it so well that they'll put up curtains and pictures and kind of fix the place up and permanently live there. They like it so well that they'll carry around their own toilet paper just in case. And it's not only women. You men go into the outhouse. Oh, you don't do so much fixing up of the place. Men generally will grab a remote and a six-pack of beer and sit down and figure out who is responsible for this mess. Not them. No way. But they won't get out of the outhouse until they figure out just who caused it. Now, women, on the other hand, love this situation. They'll get on the phone and call their best friend and go over the situation word for word, do the whole fight, every word of it, and just go on and on. I mean, they love to spread this waste around. And this friend on the phone on the other end of the line starting to feel real comfortable because she's back in her own waste. And she will often jump in her car, come on over, and jump right in that outhouse with you. Misery loves company in the outhouse. The fact is, there are always going to be outhouses out there. Maybe one right after another. But what we need to recognize is that time when we're getting too close to one. And maybe having fallen through that hole, figuring out how to get out. much less anybody paying us $50,000 for the experience. I think it's good to recognize that bad things happen and that we do have pain in our lives, and sometimes we need to visit the outhouse. But we have to have the ability to go in there, do our business, and get out. We can't rely on these numbing things like alcohol and drugs or these well-meaning friends who love to commiserate with us. They're real helpful, aren't they? Kind of like that guy I read about that charged into the battlefield after all the fighting was done and shot the wounded. We all have friends like that. Some folks, you realize, never use the facilities. Not the public ones, anyway. They hide their pain and their sorrow deep inside so that no one ever knows that they're hurting. Until one day, something very insignificant happens. Something that would not ordinarily cause even a ripple in their lives, and wham! They're in the outhouse for the duration. When we get the wind knocked out of our sails and we're headed for the outhouse, we have to realize that we ourselves are making that choice to go there. People do and say harmful and hurtful things to one another. And we tend to think that we are the center of everyone else's universe. We think that if we get treated well, that we must have done something pretty good to deserve this treatment. And conversely, we think that if we're treated badly, what did I do to deserve this? Meanwhile, the person that sent you to the outhouse has no idea that you're now waist deep in waste, and you're wondering what you did to get into this. So, we look for ways to get out of the outhouse. We know that if we spend too much time with negative people or negative things, that we start to smell a little bit. And it can be contagious and infectious, and you can be a carrier. So I leave you tonight with this one last thought. When you're headed to the bottom of a deep hole, your natural tendency is to look up, and that light at the top of the tunnel is fresh air and the way out. And we know that you don't have to reach bottom to reach the top. And if we recognize that, then we, like Maybelle Lodine, can pass go and collect our $50,000. On behalf of District 17, I would like to present this beautiful plaque to Glenn Gray, Chairman of the Convention. Glenn?
I think we have the results now. Third place winner, Dorothy LeDuc. Second place winner, Carolyn. And now, our first place winner. Getting out of the outhouse, Sharyn Solum.
I was going to use the word of the day in my speech, and I forgot to look at my notes, but this will indeed make me intransient. And the reason I entered the speech contest this year is that my good friend and co-club member, Diane Herzberg, won the humorous speech contest. And so both winners from this district are in the same club. And I promised Diane that I would take her to Edmonton. So now we are both going together, and that was my sole thing here. And Area 4, Treasure State Toastmasters, thank you, and I thank you, and I promise I'll make a fool of myself in the hospitality room just right afterwards. Thank you.
All that's left is to mention that the winner of tonight's contest, Sharyn Solum, and the winner of the Fall Humorous Contest, Diane Herzberg, will indeed be participating, representing all of us in Montana when they travel to Edmonton in June. And should either one of those contestants be unable to attend, of course, the second place winners in each of those contests will be contacted to act as the alternate. I want all of you to start planning now. Well, okay, you can wait until tomorrow. Start planning tomorrow for the Fall District Conference on November 15th in Butte. Are there any other announcements that need to be made? If not, we can adjourn to the Sapphire Room. Let's go enjoy some hospitality. Thank you, one and all.